making it. Quite excited about this session. Before we get into the details and get into serious questions, I really wanted to start with an icebreaker. So, all of you three have to tell me about one intriguing, crazy, interesting brand that you met over the last 12 months that really caught your eye and why. Maybe starting with you.
Thank you, Krishik. There have been a lot of interesting brands which has come to us, but immediately, specifically, I can remember this is pre-COVID. One of the brand came to us and told us that we are making some mixers which can be used with alcohol, and you can make, I would say, the cocktails. And we were like that. Why will somebody make cocktails at home when they can go and have a bartender do that? And suddenly COVID hits, and we actually ignored that brand. And they also came to us that can you even invest in this company or help us raise some money? We actually ignored that brand, and then COVID hit, and then that brand actually grew 200x. So what's the learning? If the product is right, you have to wait for the right time. And I think that was a great learning which we had at that point.
Very interesting. You, Raghu.
Thanks. Um, Sumit was just speaking and he just stepped off stage. So we haven't dealt with crazy brands, but we've experienced something which is crazy. Um, we've only seen it with H&M and Zara and others. But when we opened the Numi store and we had special events, it's the first time we had to put in a queue system and regulate people coming in. And for a D2C brand to get that kind of consumer interest and frenzy was really something.
That's super cool. You, Shalin.
Actually, I'll go with Sleep Company. I think a company that has been able to disrupt at this scale so quickly with a clear omni strategy is something that I truly admire. Love their products, customer. So and love the way they're going about everything omni.
I'm very excited that two of the three companies that you mentioned happen to be in Axel and Fireside portfolio. So we are definitely doing something right. So that's great. I think moving on to the discussion that we have today, I think let me start with you, Shalini. You have had an illustrious career when it comes to consumer brands, starting from Pepsi to Amazon and now at Google. At a very high level, I wanted to get your opinion on how you think the consumer behavior in the country is going to evolve over the next decade. What are some of the things you see consumers really want, and what are some of the things you see brands really serve, and how is this going to change over the next, next 5 years to 10 years time frame?
I think consumer has evolved. It's here. It is now. Um, 9 out of 10 consumers today actually do omni journeys in India
Across ages,
across ages,
across cities,
across cities. That's what we see. And compare it with the global studies, which says that 7 out of 10 customers do omni journeys. So India is actually far ahead. We are the tomorrow that countries have to look to. However, our customers, right, our companies today, only 32% of them are omni ready. So what we are seeing is a big dichotomy. Consumers are looking at one company. They could start their journey getting inspired, say on YouTube, or our competitor platforms. They could then go and view it at a mall. They could then come back, price compare, decide at home, buy it online, return offline, as Sumit from Newbie said. So the journeys are very interchangeable. And it could be exactly the opposite, right? But I think as companies, we are much slower.
On that note, what are some of the most underappreciated or underutilized tools that Google has to offer that young entrepreneurs can actually use and leverage in order to really tap onto this omni-channel need that the consumer has?
2 products that are absolutely free. First one is Google My Business. It is a free listing, and the better you get at GMB, more discoverable it will be across Google platforms. There are 6 platforms with more than 500 million users in India. So this GMB is one of the most important part. The second most important one is GMC, Google Merchant Center, where the freshness of your SKUs, the relevance of your SKUs, your shipping timelines, your pricing, all of this needs to be kept alive. And more you put on your data there, more it will be visible and more your consumers will be able to discover you. After this hygiene, everything else will come. So start spending on Google only after you do A and B, which is GMB and GMC. Get your data right. And after that, there are so many other products that you can leverage, like the AI-led products like PMax, which are the next level.
Got it. That's super helpful. I hope some young entrepreneurs found it helpful. Now that I have you here, I cannot not talk about CAC, the favorite word of you guys and not so favorite word of us on this side of the table. So tell me one thing, right? As when we work with a lot of young companies, one of the things that that's of course a real pain in life is CAC. And as you go through this journey of being a larger brand, you have to navigate it, especially if you're acquiring customers online and if you're acquiring customers for direct channels like your own website. Tell me few things that have worked very well for some companies that you think a lot of young companies do not follow, or tell me a few things that are clear no-dos that people should avoid in order to control their CAC spend very early on in their journeys.
First of all, first myth, right? First myth is higher volume would mean higher CAC. I think that's a myth that we need to look at and bust. The first thing that we need to look at is how optimized you are and how well are you using Google solutions, the AI solutions to optimize your customer journeys.
Say a little bit more what optimization means.
The first thing that you would look at is what data do you have? And in a privacy centric way, how are you optimizing your data with Google Audience? The more you're able to optimize and bring it together, the lower your CACs will be. Second is, where are you optimizing? Are you optimizing at cost per leads? Are you optimizing at cost per acquisition? Or are you optimizing at cost per sale? You need to identify where you want to optimize. There are some companies which you would want to say, okay, leads is what I want. I will finally go and sell through my call center or feet on street, right? Cost per lead makes sense. However, if you are, say, sleep company and you would want to sell your premium mattress, wouldn't you want to get the right kind of customer into your store rather than any customer, right? So I would say the more you are able to optimize, better your cost per sale would be. And you're seeing that across companies, right? The other day I was looking at Estee Lauder. They improved their traffic by 50% and at the same time improved their ROAS by 2.5x. And there's so many solutions. Trust, I mean, as humans, I don't think we can do the kind of optimization. If we are able to get the right kind of tagging, let AI do the job, and most importantly, give it time. I keep telling you that AI takes time, 40 days. Spend that time, and you'll be able to get the best kind of returns on your investment.
Got it. So summing it up, maybe the consumer is ready, is evolved, is here. You need to make sure you use the basic tools that platforms like Google have to offer. And you need to make sure what you're really solving for. Where do you need to get the customer from, or where do you need to solve for them in the whole funnel, and then plan accordingly. Is that correct?
Yes, and share as much data as you would want to. And the better data sharing you do in a very privacy centric way, more you'll be able to optimize.
Got it. No, thank you. That's super helpful. I think moving on to you, Abhishek. As at Rippler, you guys solve for warehousing and logistics for new age D2C brands. When you see them expand offline, what do you think really clicks with that endpoint, both in terms of that retailer who's selling it, and in terms of the consumer that is picking it up at that store? Like, what are some of the things that brands that have been successful offline have done? And what are some of the things that brands should not really should be very careful to avoid as they expand offline?
See, I think we have been listening to a lot of founders who have gone omni-channel, and one thing which comes out from there is that you have to have a different strategy for your offline, multi-channel, and your online. So one big mistake which we realized during our journey in the last 4 years with a lot of the D2C brand, they try to use the same strategy which they have used in their online. Just to name a few, that all my products which I'm able to list online, I want all the products in the offline stores also. So these are some examples. There are many. But this one thing which kept on. We had to spend a lot of time with founders explaining them that the kind of shelf space a general trade store or a modern trade store, they cannot list all your products. They have multiple brands. So so there should be a different strategy which you have to build for your offline channel. That's where Rippler comes in. We have realized initially that we will be just the Amazons of offline, where we will solve reach and discovery. So our job will be to take it to your shelf at the right shelf and put it there, and then the complete offtake and everything is the brand's headache.
Yeah, but how do you do maybe, see, when it's an EBO, you can do some experimentation, right? You can have that phase zero, which people in the last panel were talking about, and get some learnings. But how do you do experimentation or phase zero in GT?
Right. So that's where the difference comes in. I remember somebody telling in the last session that when he went to a traditional distributor, the challenge was that he will ask two questions. One is, what is my margin? What is my credit? But the question which the founders needs to ask the distributor is that what I get in return, because D2C brands are more data driven. So that's a differentiator comes with us. Now with a traditional distributor, you will only get the primary details. That what once I sold the product to them, what happened after that, it's not there. So that's where the differentiator comes in. Our platform will give you information at the level where what has been selling at the store also. So whatever data analytics or strategy you can build in your EBO, you can actually do that in the multi category stores or the general trade kiranas, which we call through us. So that is the advantage. We can give you the insights, what you get through your EBOs, and similar kind of insights through our platform you can get for your products in the general trader also. That is the biggest advantage which we give than a tradition. Plus, now what we have done, we have changed our strategy also. We have started working with all these D2C brands on the go-to-market strategy, like what kind of a packaging, how you should launch, where you should launch, why you should launch in this market. And this is completely driven by the data. So we almost manage 3 lakh orders a month. All the top brands are working with us. We have all the top 17, 18 largest brand, which is almost 80% of India's FMCG consumption. So that kind of data which flows, we know actually in which micro market, what is the kind of product, what is the kind of SKU, what is the kind of packaging works. Very interesting, even packaging works. Like I remember one case where we had launched Bikaji small packages and it was not selling. And we realized that the competitor is selling a green color package, right? And when we converted that into a green colored package, it started selling. So these are the inputs which comes through our platform, through our team, and that will actually help them. So that's what it is. You have to have a different strategy. You have to have a mindset. So other mindset is that to launch offline, I don't have to invest. But to go online, they're ready to invest. We talk about ROAS and all. I have not heard about any founders till now talking about what is my cost of launching my product at a retail store. They only say that, okay, this is the offtake I need, this is the margin I need, and this what. So there has to be an investment, like you build your business online. There has to be investment, and you have to build your business offline. So interestingly, a lot of what we found, what's the advantage with us is that if you have the top dollars, if you have the understanding of offline markets, good, launch your products. But not all brands have that. Not all brands have the kind of dollars, the kind of, I would say bandwidth to launch go offline. So that's where we come in. Work with us. We have the data, we have the team, we have the understanding of the offline general trade market, and that is where do it. So that's how it is. So the brands who have actually understood that has been doing well with us, and the brands who have still not understood have started changing a lot now.
No, got it. That's super helpful. I think one follow up to that is, as VCs, we always have this argument, which I really find lame, but even I ask this, is that, why can't an incumbent launch this brand? Or why can't an incumbent, a top FMCG player, let's say if I take an FMCG, a new age FMCG company's products, why can't somebody who's, a great and a top FMCG player who has all the distribution figured out, and a product team that sits centrally and does a lot of heavy lifting, why can't they launch it? Tell me a few things that you see as gaps in the whole supply chain, in the whole product promise and innovation of some of the legacy companies that provides for opportunities for some of our founders to really tap into.
I think the biggest challenge for the incumbent brands or the D2C brands is the distribution. I'm talking about specifically about offline. Online, you have a level playing field, right? With Amazon's, Flipkart's, your own websites, you can have a level playing field. But in offline, to compete with the larger brands, you need to have the offline distribution power, and that's where most of these brands are not able to grow the way the larger brands, because largest brands have spent some 40, 50 years to build their offline network. They've invested in that, and now they're creaming the network. So the only one thing which I would like to add on this part is that you have to start investing in the offline uh, ecosystem. Secondly, the biggest challenge is that they had is that what is the kind of inventory which I need to keep for the micro market where I want to serve? Will this SKU work? If I do the, I would say the experiment, the cost of experiment. So that's where we all come in. Now we are more data driven. We can give you more data on this part, and that will help you. The biggest challenge is the inventory management, I feel, because these guys don't have that kind of a skill where they can keep all the inventory at that point, and that's where a lot of their money gets stuck. So one is that inventory management. Second thing is the delivery of the right product at the right shelf. So that is something which we solve for them, and at the right time. That is also very important, at the right time, because if a customer comes and he knows about your product and he doesn't find the product on the shelf, he will pick up some other product and go. So these are some, I think big challenges which we are solving. I'm sure the brands are also solving on their own part, and that is how they will become an omni-channel.
Got it. No, thank you. I think moving on to you, Raghu. Yeah. No. See, I think it's as one of the benefits of a big being seeing Light Store firsthand is that you get to see multiple brands, right? And you get to see many of them launching their offline experience with you. Again, I think maybe let's start with a little bit of a general question, which is around what are some of the best learnings that you have had while seeing some of these brands scale up in EBOs? What has worked for them? And maybe some top of mind indicators I had was around location, internal fixtures, inventory, or maybe, just as Sumit was talking about getting the trial room ready, right? So what do you think that has been done really well by some of the entrepreneurs in starting their EBO journeys with you?
Okay. I'll just take a minute to just explain what we do and then put it in
Yeah,
context,
sure.
because I'm not sure how many people know. So we offer retail as a service. This is a complete end-to-end solution for any brand that wants to go offline. So we find the location for them, we fit out the store, and we run the store. Okay, so and try and create as positive a consumer experience as possible. So that's the sort of scope of services. Um, our learnings with the brands, I would say the biggest learning for us has been for any D2C brand that wants to enter, it's not easy to find space, because most of the malls wouldn't have heard of them.
Yeah.
And it's very tough. So that's where we work very actively with the brands to figure out where to position them in the center. There's always a tendency for brands to want bigger and bigger stores, or in many cases, smaller and smaller stores. It's not easy to do that. It's not easy. There are some like New Me, we're running 5 stores for them now. They've standardized on fairly large stores, which is good and it's working for them. Um, and yes, one learning was when we increased the trial rooms, sales increased because people were able to try on more clothes. I think the other big learnings is, and that's where, see, first of all, I tell you what we don't do. We don't control the product because that's the brand. I mean, these are founders are smart, ambitious people. They know their business, so they know the product. We don't get involved with the selection of the product. We don't get involved with pricing. What we do get involved with is what kind of stock levels do you need? Because that's been a big learning for the brand. If you want to say target 10 lakhs or 50 lakhs or a crore a month, how much stock do you actually need? Because then what stock density should you have? That's where I think, because that doesn't exist in the online world. So that's where we're able to add significant value. So then we come into, okay, you're in a mall. What do you do then? How do you, apart from controlling the experience, how do you improve sales? So we're now actively working with the mall marketing teams and with the brand and with our own team to try and boost sales. So I think these are some of the biggest learnings that we've seen from brands.
No, that's super interesting. And that's a good segue into my next question. Is it, let's say you have a store, you have some form of initial brand building. Is it, are there interventions like a lot of in-store marketing or assistance in sales that are required even in an EBO or even in a store that is yours to be able to really convert the consumers? Like, are you seeing brands actively do in-store management to actually get a lot of conversions?
Okay. First of all, so far we've only run EBOs, okay, of varying sizes from 300 square feet all the way up to almost 4,000 square feet. And now we're increasing the size of the stores. So that's one. Second is there are several brands uh, who require much less space, 500 square feet, 800 square feet, and so on. For them, we are in the process of crafting a multi-brand store.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it won't be like a typical department store because we need to control the experience everywhere. So it'll be like several shops, but we're able to leverage and bring down the cost for the brand. Okay, so that's, I think, and that will only deepen our customer engagement. And there we'll work very actively with the mall marketing teams because then you're talking of 8 or 10 or 15 brands in one store. The other thing I want to tell you is, you know, it's very easy for a brand to go and approach a center and say, listen, let me start marketing efforts and so on. And why I keep stressing on this is most of the malls are not familiar with any D2C brands. They haven't even heard of them. Okay, now New Me is known and Zook is known and Pan Project is known. And these are all brands that we work with actively. But imagine a new brand trying to go and talk. It's tough. And I think that's where we see our role significantly having to add value every day. And that's how we're approaching it.
Got it. The team has been indicating me to stop my questions, but I'll manage one last one for you, which is around for all the investor folks in the room. Do you see a lot of churn? Like, there are brands that get certain amount of hype. They open multiple stores. And then, that hype dies down because a lot of preference in the country is driven by social media, which is not consistent, right? Do you see a lot of that given you're sitting at the back end of many of these brands which are trying to expand?
Quite honestly, I think it's too early. It's too early in the D2C journey.
Fair, yeah. Okay, cool. I think on that note, happy to take some questions from the crowd if they have any.
You mentioned Google My Business and Google Merchant Center. Okay. But the other thing is Google also has started uh, pushing merchants, supporting merchants who pick up in store, who to offer pickup in store.
Come again?
Google also has started facilitating merchants who offer pickup in store. That
Yes.
is, yeah, that can be a major motivator for brands to necessarily push their offline sales, right? Yeah. Because that can eventually lead to something like, you know, 50 million stores are already using the UPI for making payments. They are just waiting for the digitization of their stores. And this becomes the easier one.
Absolutely, absolutely. This, and you can also, first of all, I think GMB is the foundation, right? With GMB, you'll find it on Google, on Google Maps, multiple places. And you can always advertise more through local inventory ads, enable Google business messaging and I keep using messaging to understand whether there's stock. There's another data point which is very interesting. 63% of customers actually go and check whether something is available before they walk into the store. So there you go.
Yeah, there's one question at the back.
Yeah.
Thank you. The session was quite intriguing. I mean, I had many questions listening to both of you. And so I'll just try to summarize it So one is, what is the scale, say, for apparel brands? I mean, that where you would see that it is the right time to go for a either the GT or the EBO route. I mean, when I say GT, it's the regular trade. And second, because both of you talked about that founders need to understand the investment needed for that. So, I mean, what is the kind that you see? So, I mean, because both the questions are linked in a way, unless I have the money, I can't invest. And unless I know this is the this is the investment that I need, I can't prepare myself for that investment over a period of time. Yeah.
Was your question, what is the investment founders need to make to go offline?
What is the investment when you say for a apparel kind of brand? What is the investment to go offline? And second, what is the stage where you are a D2C brand, there has to be certain amount of equity that you would have built before you even think of it. So what is the stage, that cutoff where you should start thinking of it?
Okay. What is the investment is completely driven by location, by size, and by shopping center or high street or wherever a brand chooses to go. It could vary. Just to give you an idea, if Bangalore is today 100, Bombay is 150 to 175, and Delhi is 300. That's the range in rentals that you get. I'm just talking a broad average. So you have to be very careful about that in terms of affordability, because that's a big investment, right? But the bigger investment is in your merchandise and your inventory. And that's where I think a lot of data play comes in terms of how much do you know about your customers, which pin codes are they buying from, which geographical markets are they covering. So I think, to me, those are bigger investments. The others, I mean, people like us take care, like we fit out your store and we give you support and we run it and we have our own team doing all that. So to me, that's a lesser investment. The bigger investment is your brand, how you treat your brand, what inventory you have, how much stock you want to carry, what your sales targets are, and so on. That's the investment.
Yeah, I'll take that quickly. So, if you want to launch your product in general trade and modern trade, which is a multi-channel stores, I think the right time is that when you start seeing a lot of brand recall online. So there are a lot of brands which go offline and then online also. So they have a completely different strategy. But I'm talking about D2C brands which are good online. You have a good, I would say, recall of your brand. And you also see that somewhere you are getting flat for your online sales. I think that's the right time to go offline. Now, what is the investment? investment going offline in general trade, modern trade is two. One is patience. You know, in offline, business doesn't grow the way it grows in online. It takes time, understand the market, invest in marketing, invest in schemes, try to understand from larger brands, how. So that's where, the patience, that is the time and the investment that you will not see, say, your 1,000 products going off the shelf within a month. That might take 6 months, that might take 12 months. So that's the patience, that's the understanding, and that's the data, which exactly you do in your online thing, you have to do it in your offline also. It doesn't mean that you just place a product. In fact, there is a cost in the offline, like you pay listing fees online, there are listing fees for bigger stores in offline also. So that's one investment. But all these investments is much lesser than what you would have invested in an EBO or in a online market. But more of the investment is the time and the patience.
Good. I think time's up, as the screen says. Thank you, guys. Thank you to all three of you for making the time. And yeah, I think I shall close the event. Thank you.